In a town of obliged teens, don't feel bad. It is a lost cause at the end. For once, when we feel like we have lost the hope of getting something right, we don't feel the need to take one more step. I see many people having the right pieces at the right time in the right place. Sounds unfair, no? But it's not about who is winning. We're all different than each other and we need to accept that. For the starters, let us work on understanding ourselves on a deeper level. That how do we work? Let's talk about that. We need an iota of hope to succeed in something that might grant us some leverage in our ongoing life. But to my belief and experience, it is not important at all. There are a number of things you can do to know yourself in a way that no one can. So try taking a run. Take huge steps with your shiny boots and just run. No matter what, set out yourself. Push yourself to the limits. Breathe with your nose and let everything sink in. My suggestion would be to go early. Feel like you against your face, your hair stuck on your forehead and your ears buzzing as you push yourself to the limits. This is an exercise I did to better understand myself. I got to know that what my limits are, when to push them, reserve them, and make it work. We do realize that in our definition of knowing ourselves, it is just about a silent treatment in the northwoods of the Amazon, but it's not. With us summoned in the concrete structure of buildings, we cannot really get out of the system as we think. I think going an extra mile just to know yourself is a bit harsh, and it would lead towards us being inconsistent, because we would not achieve anything on the first go. Since we are inconsistent with no rewards, it is unlikely that we'd continue. At your own comfort, try washing your clothes, making your bed, clean the dishes you eaten, walk around the house and buy bird food or cat food or any stray you want to take care of. The problem with knowing ourselves is that we disconnect very quickly with the outside world. We tend to make these vows to our cell phones and laptops in the name of school assignments and homework and just entertainment. While as being surrounded by these building blocks, these steel, earthquake-resistant structures and people with stories we have no interest in, why do we think we're alone? Part of knowing yourself is about knowing your society and what is happening with it. We have an assumption that when we ignore our surroundings, we can focus on ourselves. But how can you when you don't have a perspective of life? How would you know your limits if you don't walk on streets and drive on roads? How would you know yourself if your car gets a bum or a shitty avenue? What would you do? What if your heel breaks before going to a major event? Or if your father suffers a stroke? What are you going to do? If we ignore this perspective, how would we know that we can? Another problem we face now is that there is a lot of competition. What our fathers experience in this age is far, far different than what we see today. Yeah, and yes, it is true, but why do we lose hope? Why is it that most of our college applications are left at a draft because we cannot produce an essay or a cover letter? While knowing ourselves, we tend to be a bit unethical. We think knowing ourselves and that path will grant us an express pass to violate the rules that we make. The path of knowing ourselves doesn't mean that you can't consume alcohol or cigarettes at your own will. You can watch tedious TV shows, consume adult content, hang out with your friends all the time, and overspend money. What we need is discipline. Our definition of working on ourselves is very different than that of disciplining ourselves. We think of strictness and toughness towards our behavior as the key towards that. This very idea does not reflect that. Let me start with what you can do, what I learned to do. So first things first, no one's going to help you, and there's a very good reason why. If you hadn't already guessed it, let me make it clear for you. No one knows what you're cooking inside your head. In a very near second when a stranger passes by, you cannot guess if he's going to kill himself, or cook lasagna for dinner, or in search of extra large diapers for her baby. You simply don't know. So what you do is focus. Start with manual breathing. You need not to worry. You've got this. So first thing you can do is cherish time with your family. It is something that we do not realize in this age and time, but it's quite important. The familia es todo, as they say in Spanish, comes from generations of drug lords. But it is right, family is everything. If you have a younger sibling, a caring mother, or a very hardworking father, spend time with them, or your aged grandparents, or your lovely uncle and aunt. It does not matter if their highest education level was them being a dropout or just a diploma. They have seen the world. They have seen ups and downs. Maybe you cannot voice your problems to them, nor they can understand it the way you want them to, but what you can do is spend time with them. Our families have a huge impact on our decision making. Needless to say, they are the very pillars that we stand on and see the world as it is. It is per se a heads up. So don't lose that connection with family. No matter what girl or boy you end up giving your heart to, the very doors of your family will always be open. So don't take it for granted. Give them love and cherish time with them. Now that you've gotten your family in a perfect position, I think it's time you work on continuity. It is not an exercise or an assignment that has a due date. I'm afraid to say, but there is none. When you begin to implement these changes on yourself, you start to balance your life. I heard it a lot. You cannot do it. Life is supposed to be a bit problematic. Isn't it supposed to feel great all the time? Why? Why is it the case that we have to do everything on our own terms, and unlike a lot of people, we're afraid to compromise? We give people leverage into our lives and express past to exploit us because we know what we are capable of and they're not. Subsequently, we also know that whatever happens, we don't tell people our limits because we don't know as well. At the end of the day, it is just about balance. We give a lot more to society than to ourselves. Then we see people succeeding faster than us. Our whole perspective of being a good person changes by the influence of those selfish acts people want you to perform. So first things first, you volunteer at times, but don't commit yourself into anything. With this, I realize that I can help people at my will. I can help people in need, but I can say no if things are not in my control. The only way I can be with my family is how do I treat my loved ones? How do I treat my mother, my father, my very dear siblings? So find balance where you think it is needed. And it's not a race. You don't have to score a trophy or get a cash grant. It is your life. Going extra for people did make me push my boundaries to a certain extent, but I'm telling you, it would not do you good. You will lose valuable relationships because of that. So first things first, or should I say, first lesson of knowing yourself is learning how to balance things. How well you respond to things, how weak are you in some things, it is all good. But keep it to yourself.